Hey, everybody, and welcome to American Groove, a Lost in the Groove segment with me, Dave, your host, and our other host.
Karissa.
Yes. And today, in tribute of an artist that we both love tremendously. I cannot say how much I love this band. I literally have every single one of their albums. And I actually was in England, in Manchester. I bought albums there because I wanted first prints. Okay. I paid way too much money, but I was proud to do this. Anyway, without further ado, this is our tribute to Freddie Mercury, who unfortunately, November 24th, 1991, died of AIDS.
1991.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
actually, funny enough, that's going to be Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. So, yeah.
What year were you born, David?
I was born 1999.
1999. Yeah. So I was alive when Freddie Mercury was still alive. So I remember him being alive. And then I remember him having died. But no one talked to me about AIDS because I was like 4 years old.
Weren't you
Or
born in
something.
89?
88. So I guess I was like 2 or 3. I
Oh,
remember that
shit.
he was alive. Like I remember that there was a time before he had passed away because like those songs were out and they would play, like he Queen had a lot of songs that were on like jock jams, like in a way. Like they had these
Mhm.
like sporty songs that they would play a lot, like "We Will Rock You"
The
and
one bites the
another one bites
dust.
the dust. Yeah,
Somebody to
"We
love.
Are the Champions." Like they would play them at all of the sports events. My dad was like a baseball softball coach, so they would play those songs. My dad loved Queen. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, being that this whole podcast, like this whole thing that I've created and our hosts have created it is an environment of sharing creation and passion where we literally all of us, I mean, you, me, Eli, and Henry, we're all artists, we're all creators. And when you take a person like Freddie Mercury, who unfortunately did not live a long life, but he lived an incredible life. And the only tribute that we can do is hear his story and tell you our perspective, how we hear it. Because I didn't really have time to finish the book, and I didn't have any time to read other material, except of years. I mean, years of just watching and reading content on Queen. It's not normal. It's not normal. My obsessions.
You've always been obsessed with Queen since I met you.
Oh,
Um, Yeah, I mean, you just all the time would go in. I know I pre-rolled my joints too.
mm-hmm.
All the time I would go into I would talk about something and you would bring the conversation back to Freddie Mercury. I'd be like, what does Freddie Mercury have to do with what happened to me
He has a
today?
lot to. He has a lot to do with things. Let's just start off with saying that Freddie Mercury. Hold on one second. Um, Holding a joint and trying to.
I know both of my joints have lipstick on them, which I think is kind of cute. Can
It's
you can you see
yeah.
the lipstick? That's where I rolled it and licked
Oh
it.
my god, that's amazing.
It's one thing for the lipstick to get down here, but I thought it was kind of cute that it got rolled up into the joint. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
So, Freddie Mercury's actual like birth name was Farouk Balsara, uh, which
Yeah.
uh, which I believe, and again, I did not go into much of history. I believe his name came from his father's side. He was born in Stone Town, Zanzibar, which is modern
Yeah.
day Tanzania.
I read about that that it's changed so much and that it was like a Navy military outpost. And his parents they left.
Yeah, well, what happened was when he was a kid, his parents, they worked in government. They were
Really?
pars. Yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah. So his I think his father's name was Bami and his mother's name was Jur, and they were part of India, and they were one of many of people that were Parsi, which is part was a group of people. I think it's Zoroastrian, uh, that came from Iran, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a breakout or something where they left, and being where his parents were, and they were also English citizens at the time. His parents had a pretty decent life, like he grew up where he had nannies taking care of him.
Yeah, he had a decent education. That's what I read. I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. Yeah, he had a good education. And, I mean, like somebody who appreciated the arts, they let him go to art school. I think that's really incredible.
Well, so the thing is, so art school was later on. He went to this very prestigious Indian school outside of Bombay. And one thing I was reading, which was very interesting, is he would have to go on an immense journey to go to this school. Okay. You have to take a train, and you would have to go in a car and drive for many, many, many hours.
These carts that
Yeah.
what is it, like a rickshaw?
Mm-hmm.
It's like somebody picks it up. And I knew
Yeah.
another girl that went to school out in India, and she told me that the trip there was insane. And like, just to the actual school in the morning, they didn't have, washer dryers. They had to wash their own socks and underwear and uniforms and stuff by hand.
But think
I
about it
don't know.
like
He
this.
probably had it better, but
But think about it like this. I believe he was 8, and he was there for about 10 years. When he went, I take a puff. When he went to,
yeah, you got to smoke. You can't talk the whole time.
mm,
It's like when you go out to eat and you just chitter chatter. And it's like, eat your food.
sorry, you
Yeah,
got to
no, no,
keep it.
no. We're smokers.
Yeah, no, you got to keep it going. Um, so I can understand this. Where as a kid, you're put into this predicament where you don't have your parents. Okay. One thing about Freddie Mercury is he never really had parents. His parents never really took care of him. And this is not just from this book. You can hear this from interviews where what he's told personal friends, like Mary, like Peter, like Everett, and there's other characters we're gonna talk about that were part of Mercury's group.
I wanna say real quick though, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they didn't care for him day to day, but people whose parents send them to boarding school, they are caring for them, because it's like they're paying the bills. They keep
Yeah.
them, cared for. They're a kept
Which,
individual.
which by
I
the
mean,
way,
that's one thing. They paid his bills. They made sure that he was fed, stuff like that. So
right.
it's not that his parents didn't care for him at all. They just cared for him in a different way.
But the thing is, though, he was still missing a very crucial part of childhood where he was far away from his parents for a very long time. And, people mention like, he was there during the revolution, that was going on when the Sultan was taken down and the whole revolt to eventually what we know now as Tanzania. And his parents fled to England when he was
this
young.
was so long ago. Like I read it was like 1947. I was like, damn.
Well, yeah,
like,
because he was born. Hold on. This is a problem. With books, they have should have permanent postmarks just attached on the page itself. Because I find it fucking ridiculous.
You can put little notes in your books. That's fun. That's like what actual students do. Have you ever seen those little sticky things you put on your book?
Yeah. He was born 5th of September 1946.
46, yeah.
1946. Yeah.
Yeah, he's older than my father. which, it's interesting to think that like my father thought of him as a person that's older than him, you know?
Well, I mean, for example, my mom, and I'm just throwing this out there just for context. My mom is the same age as Madonna. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when my mom was being an adult, when she was in her 20s in the 1980s, and like the popular music at the time for like my mom was Madonna. Okay. So like it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's super edgy, you
yeah,
know?
like it's just like it's a thing that happens where people around the same age groups get inspired by each other. I we were talking about this on the other podcast with Sean Ellis Rogers, which came on, which is going to be released Thursday, the 24th, which is Thanksgiving. Which you probably could listen to this now, which is getting released next Tuesday, and be like, "What the fuck?" Like that's from the past. But anyway, that's not the point. Um, whoa, that was a whirlwind. Um,
I was gonna say that if you're talking about influence, I also read that he was influenced by Jimi Hendrix, which I found very interesting. I like that. It's a good fact.
yeah, no, I mean, like he also Mercury surrounded himself by artists, um,
But I mean, we'll
including
take ourselves back to like when he was younger,
mm,
but
yeah, sorry,
so he was like leaving Zanzibar, had school, really nice school in
yeah,
India. And then, I mean, you know more than I do.
yeah. So he went to England, and he was very excited about the whole entire experience. But the biggest problem from him was when he was going to these schools. You have to remember, in England at this time in history, England's idea of diversity was, I quote, people from Manchester and people from London. There was
I never
no,
thought about that. Yeah, because when I think about Europe, I think of them as like more diverse than us. But like, I mean, that I didn't think about the '80s. Like the '80s, yeah, in London, there wasn't a lot of diversity, so he didn't really feel like like he belonged, I guess is what you're trying to say.
yeah. So he basically like, and also another thing is, he adopted the name Freddie from a very young age. He got the name Freddie from being in that
Why?
school because the school was an English school. And, Farouk was just a little, again, like I said, like he had this even when he was in the school in India. Um, he just, I don't think he was uncomfortable. I understand where he's coming from. He just wouldn't talk about his family and heritage to people. It just wasn't something he brought up in conversation, which I can understand. My father did this too. My father was the exact same way. It's a thing about when you come from foreign cultures and you come to a completely different, like, first world society. You just, you talk about it with your family here and there, but you just don't announce it to the world. And Freddie was, just a name that was given to him because it was English, Farouk, Freddie. And it just kind of made self. Well, I mean, when he came to England, he kind of adopted himself to all the culture and was able to be inspired by all of it. And like we're just going to kind of fast forward over this piece because it is important to talk about when he went to school for graphic design and he actually
Yeah,
graduated.
I can see that. Like, I can see that you kind of relate with him, and that in a way you like that those kinds of things remind you of your father. Like, I'm sorry to just like, like put that on air, but like I can see that these types of things attract you to Freddie Mercury. You like that he was the odd person out, or that he was very different than other people. You like that his cultural background, like he had to kind of like create a new identity for himself. Like I've heard you talk about him, and like these are the things that I see that you identify with him, like about him. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like,
It does. And it's also like, to anyone that's listening, the point about these famous people is not to glorify an idol. It's to show the work that inspired so many of us. The reason why Michael Jackson is famous is because we loved his music. I mean, oh my God, the man was amazing. With all of his difficulties as a human being, with all of his problems, which we all know, we saw it, you can learn different things by inspiring people. Whether they're good or bad, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is their craft. The point of this whole conversation, which I will be very honest with you, is going to take an hour and 12 minutes or maybe 15. But what can we learn from this man that was alive for 45 years? I think it was 45 or 46 years. Short period.
What a question. Like, what? Yeah. Ooh, what can we learn? Like, ooh.
Yeah, what can we learn from Freddie? And like, that's what we're going to, me and you today, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our listeners and break down what we found to be the most important parts and important for anyone that is listening, and dive in.
Yeah. Yeah, the things that we could relate to.
Yes.
and our relationship with Freddie Mercury. And I think just in honor of him, and it's like, maybe we don't know, well, of course I don't know all the facts, but I want to show some type of like mourning to him. I want to honor his memory just by like doing this podcast about like on this date, like he passed, on the 24th. And I know that he was a very private person, so, he didn't put a lot out about it. And so I feel kind of strange, like, putting stuff out about it. But I think that I'm a creator, and I think that it's appropriate to talk about someone who inspired me. Like I said, he was inspired by Jimi Hendrix. I've definitely pulled inspiration from Jimi Hendrix.
Oh yeah, big time.
Reading about musicians this week has like really made me be like, man, like I should try and do some more music with my life. Like I always was a singer performer when I was younger. So for me, I am, one thing that I always found extremely impressive about Freddie Mercury, the first thing I remember people talking about his vocal range when I was a child.
Because of his teeth.
The 4 octaves, or I don't know what it's really called, but I wanted to find out if he worked on it, because I know that you can stretch it, or if he was born that way.
Okay, so the story. Really so I had somebody, a good friend of mine that was a musician. He explained this to me, and this is just in basic English. Because of his extra teeth, his insert, the insert piece, his teeth setting was wider. And if you're being trained, which he probably had, to be real, he probably had singing lessons, which is fine. Some people have to get that done. Well,
maybe he was in like choir growing up. And
yeah, he was like he did choir, like we mentioned. We had a conversation.
It must have been like, holy shit. I would just think that the school choir would be like, whoa.
But
go on.
But like the point is that he already like had a passion for the arts at a young age. Like we mentioned, and we kind of skimped over because we were very high, and we still are. Hi all the time. Yes. But the point was that he had even family, which he had in India, which took care of him. I believe it was his aunt, and she got him a piano, and he started learning lessons. He eventually, I believe at the age of 12, he created a little group where they like covered songs, or a cover band, and they called themselves, I think it was the Hectics. And he was just like just the example of a creator. He just wanted to make something. He's like, I was put on this earth to be fucking talented, darling. That's the best Freddie Mercury I can
Mm,
do.
I like it. I'm sure it's not the last one tonight.
No, no, he always said darling. Well, I said it's funny actually. I do that too, and I had a conversation about this where I call people honey, darling, sweetie. Like it's not like I'm gay, but like I don't say it because I don't know. It's just the way I talk.
Yeah, I feel like it would take a lot of balls to be calling people darling with, like a voice that might be a little bit more feminine back in that time. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
like
can
it
see that.
said that he graduated college in 1969. I mean, he probably had to play straight for a long time. And, to be able to say, like, darling, I mean, I don't know if he played straight or not. I didn't read
He
anything
was
about that,
so like
but
the
he,
cool thing
yeah.
the cool thing about like Freddie, he had different stages. Like towards the end of his life, he became very more masculine. But like at the very beginning, actually, like even in college, he was very feminine. Like he wore like the orange
Cool.
corduroys,
Okay.
like the chiffon, like the scarf and the
He had
flowy
style.
tops. Yeah, he
I
always
picture
had.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird because if you like look at pictures and you hear his story, he was very always openly very feminine. And it's like as if like people were like,
Cool.
okay, he was just a feminine guy, but he's definitely straight.
There's definitely this like rough, tough, like masculinity about him. Like, I mean, he is a man. Do you feel me on that? Like,
Okay, best
I,
example, we can both agree. I do not know the episode on Sex in the City. Uh but there is a one where Charlotte dates a guy that is feminine. And I love this episode because it is kind of like it's kind of taken up context. But the point is like his characters played very well. Like you can see that this guy can be feminine and also be straight. I don't know, like my high brain is
yeah.
telling me that is the episode.
No.
If you want to understand this, just watch that episode from Sex in the City. I don't know which episode though.
I've been wanting to watch more Sex in the City recently. Like I feel like it's been like calling to me. Like I think it's because I was like, going through these like single girl vibes. And so like it's so like soothing to watch them.
Yeah,
But I'll have to figure out what episode that is. Was it Samantha that dated the guy?
I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I
think it's in
don't
the late.
know.
I think it's in one of the later seasons. But going back to this episode, again, Stone Mines, American Groove. We're gonna be in a lot of fucking places. Um,
American Groove.
yeah. But so 1969. Freddie's in college, and you he kind of scaved off about he didn't really finish school prior. The only thing he actually finished was his graphic design, and he actually used his talent like to design the logo of Queen. And
Oh, he did the artwork.
yes, he did.
Aw,
Yes,
I
he
love
did.
it.
Yeah.
That's like you.
I make all little logos.
You made
I
our
don't,
Lost in the Groove logo and
yes,
it's
it
got
did.
little pot leaves on it.
Well, the
And
American Groove logo.
oh yeah, sorry. You made the American Groove logo, but you also made the Lost in the Groove logo. But you you made a logo specifically for our new little segment here, and it's very beautiful. And thank you, David.
Yes, and it's supposed to be an American flag, and the stars are removed for little weed stars.
Little flowers.
Yeah, little wheat flowers.
They
Okay.
stand for the 13 colonies of fun. I don't know.
All right. Freddie Mercury. Um, okay, so I wanted to share.
I love Freddie.
I do too. All right. So this is a quote from Freddie Mercury himself, which was the idea of Queen was conceived by me while was studying at college. Brian, who was also at college, liked the idea and we joined forces. The very earliest traces of the band go back to a group called Smile. I used to follow Smile a lot and we became friends. I used to go to their shows and they used to come to see mine. So it's 1970.
Just like rocking out,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
being yourself until being yourself leads to something that changes the world.
I mean, just like think about this. It's where Freddie Mercury is in England, he's in London, and it's like, it's like the end of the 60s, like it's the end, like it's 1970. It's like a new era. And so funny enough, actually, he was in he actually was introduced to Brian and Roger, and Roger and Freddie became actually close friends. They actually, this is hilarious. When they were, kind of the early days, Roger Taylor, which is actually the drummer of Queen, he and Freddie Mercury used to work out of Kensington Market, and they were haberdashers. When I mean haberdashers, I mean
What?
tallyrags. Like I'm joking. They were basically people that sold trash. Okay.
Okay, so they're just like swindlers.
Yeah, pretty much. They would buy like these coats that were eaten by moths and like pay like 20 pounds for a whole like box and sell them for like 8 a piece.
Okay, they had to survive, I guess.
Yeah, they had to survive, and like that's how like they were getting themselves by.
Okay.
This is like such a random thing about Mercury, like like Freddie Mercury, but like the thing about, like, you have to realize the band, which is an important part of the story because Freddie Mercury was a part of the band for so long, um, for about 20 years. I think no,
Yeah,
20.
it's like his full-time job.
Yeah, yeah. But they consisted of really smart people. This was the thing about Queen that made them different than other bands were. They consisted of 4 very intelligent people. Just to give you a great example, Brian May, he had an old fireplace. They broke down the wood, okay? Him and his father built a bass guitar. Well, not just, a bass, but I'm going to say bass guitar because whatever. But yeah. And they built it out of wood. I was like, whoa, that's the guy. That's like the bass. He plays bass.
They made it.
Yeah.
They handmade a bass guitar.
Yeah. Brian May was like a fucking genius. This man was like, God bless his soul. I mean, he's still alive. But
I don't give the remaining people enough like attention or credit of myself. Like, I don't know, I really, really liked Queen and I still like their music. I just wasn't the hugest fan of the movie that came out.
yeah,
The most recent one,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I'm not gonna say it was bad or anything. I just like for me, I wasn't crazy about it. I didn't hate it. I wasn't like that will. And there were parts of it that I was like, wow. But anyways, like I feel like they are amazing remaining members, and I feel like, I just want to throw it out to them too, while we do this Freddie Mercury episode, right?
because like Queen is, like we said before, Freddie's life was very private. I mean, the information that we know comes from very few close members because he didn't like media or any of it. So anyone that knew his story were close. The problem is some of these people, I think they're just dirty ass motherfuckers. So I like to take the shit the way that it is. But important thing to keep in mind when we're talking about this, like this early period where, in short, I'm gonna make this quick because this is a long and boring story. Um, Freddie used to drive Brian and Roger crazy. He used to tell them what they were doing wrong with Smile and what they could fix and what they could be doing better. And they loved the guy, but he was irritating. And Freddie then went to another band called Ibex, and he got a part of it, and they were doing really well. And he dropped out. And still like waiting and just driving Roger, fucking Brian, like poor motherfuckers, just driving them crazy.
Well, and what's this thing that I heard about how like, the other what was the other member? They just got along just fine because he was no threat to him and they had no conflict. They just, but he
So they
basically had a
met.
problem with two members, but the other one he was fine.
So they met John Deacon on a whim. On a whim, um, which he was the second. He was second guitar. I think first or second guitar, and John Deacon was one of the members of Queen, and you can even see this. He was very conservative in the way of where he wanted to live a life of having a family and kids. He was quiet, he was the kind of person that Freddie Mercury just fell in love with immediately because he was just that kind of guy that, he didn't have to say anything for people to understand him. Um,
He sounds confident, is it what I get,
yeah,
I don't know.
in a way. And I mean, like Roger Taylor, which he doesn't get a lot of credit in my personal opinion. He does deserve a lot, just like Brian. Him and Freddie were kind of like, delinquents. They had a lot of fun together. They worked together in Kensington Market. Like they were there for each other during the deep shit. And Brian and Freddie's relationship was they were both really clever and creative minds, as musicians. And they were able to create really beautiful music with their collaboration. Um, I'm getting very hyped up by this, but like the whole thing is where the story of Freddie is the story of Queen. That's the truth. You can't talk about Freddie without talking about Queen.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand.
Yeah, that's why we got to talk about both.
Mm-hmm.
And we are,
We're trying. We're trying with our stone brains. We're trying.
Oh my god, I'm really enjoying this joint over here.
I can tell.
I don't know. I feel like I've already said a lot.
Okay. So they're now officially, the band. And I'm skipping over this again because we primarily are focusing on Freddie. The Queen is important. We do want to mention them. We are throughout the podcast, but in brief subtext. And as things are progressing and they're picking things up, we know that they came to an agreement by the name of Queen. Funny enough, they needed a little bit convincing. Big problem. Queen was a derogatory slang word for the LGBTQ or the queer community at the time. And it was just, you have to understand, Freddie at the time, at the beginning, he was shitty. He was very, very shitty. And then he got better. And he figured out ways of, so this is a funny story. Oh my God, my brain is, he had one night where the microphone snapped. Okay. That was the night that, just like Michael Jackson and his moonwalk, like that was the Michael Jackson moment for Freddie Mercury. And him holding the mic just became the thing. Like he would, like hold it around like as if it was a penis, or he would kind of like play with it like as if it was a guitar. Like he would just do shit with it. And then over time, as things progressed, he met Mary Austin.
Yeah, you were telling me about Mary.
Let's talk about Mary, shall we? Let me see if I. Mm, bookmarks are so fucking important. So, all right. So, we're gonna
Well, I
start.
mean, Mary and him were married, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He had a
So,
wife. Some people are like didn't even know that he had a wife, you know?
yeah. Wait. So, Freddie Mercury said, "All my lovers ask me why they couldn't replace Mary, but it's simply impossible. To me, she was my common law wife. To me, it was a marriage. We believe in each other, and that's enough for me. I couldn't fall in love with a man the same way as I did with Mary."
Oh, that's really cool. Hmm.
Did you read anything up about Mary or no?
Well, I mean, like, do you think that that's like a like the modern day it would be described as like a polygamous marriage or a platonic or a partnership or how? Because I
Probably a
mean, like this was a
partnership.
while ago. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably for partnership. I mean, I kind of I kind of get it. You know, a lot of gay men at the time, unfortunately, were restricted, and as a gay man, and I don't know about anybody else, I feel more comfortable around women sometimes. And one thing we learned and know about Freddie's history, he loved women. And I'm not going to lie, there are gay men, and I've spoken, we have created a union. We like women, but not sexually. You know, there's a way of underlying the difference. And I think this was the important thing about Mary was she understood Freddie because she kind of went through not similar shit, but like her parents were both deaf. Okay. This is letting you, like, I don't know if you read about this. Her parents were both deaf. So she can only talk with them in sign language.
Wow.
Um,
That's so interesting.
yeah. And Freddie never brought anybody home to his parents or anything like that. He was like, it was just like a perfect match. It kind of made sense that they worked together. And it's crazy that you know, like she eventually, she's, he, the, this is the story. And that's what it said. He said to her, "I think I'm bisexual." And she responded, "No, Freddie, you're not. You're gay." Oh my God, I think I quoted it exactly word for word. Damn.
Shoot. Well,
Shit.
what I had said is like if they maintained a friendship, she is extremely understanding. You know, like she like genuinely loves him. She must have. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know their dynamic, but I'm saying if she wasn't just like so hurt that she's mad at him, she must have been extremely understanding. She must have genuinely really cared about him. And that, I mean, they had a very special relationship, is
Yeah.
what it sounds like. Um, I feel like they just needed each other, is what it sounds like to me, and that they had built a bond, and that he had a loyalty to her, is what I get, there too, and that he did love her, and that he loved her, and that it didn't have to be sexual, is what I hear there.
I mean, like, being this is like, you know, new shit that we're doing. I mean, the two of us, I mean, we've been friends for 3 years, and it's kind of weird. I mean, like, I feel like we have a bond, and we also have to remember that in these days, sorry, not in those days, the kind of idea of having, you know, a relationship yet at all with a man was bad enough. You know, try to think a conversation of a man that's gay and a woman that might have a husband or something, you know, having a relationship.
Well,
Unheard of back then.
Yeah. I mean, she must have, did she have other people that she had dealings
She
for?
did. She did. I mean, eventually, to put it short, she had a string of bad relationships, and Freddie would always get her out of it. The same way she would always get Freddie out when he was down.
I love that. Just
Yeah.
like being there for each other.
Yeah.
Like you and me.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when I'm like, I'm down under the press, and then a fucking burger arrives at my home. I was like, what?
And I'm like, wait a second. Where did this Oreo shake from Cheesecake Factory come from?
Oh my God, I love those.
And you're like, happy birthday.
Yeah. So I mean, like, another thing which was important because we were talking about music earlier. Killer Queen. You know Killer Queen?
No, I thought you were gonna say the Killer of Queen.
No. The song Killer Queen.
No, I don't know everything like you do. I love Queen, but I don't know like every album. By the way, can you show me your albums?
Oh, okay. So we're gonna show the album that Killer Queen is on. Okay, and I have it on vinyl. And
David has this crazy record collection that's just like 300. So beautiful.
Yeah, well, we'll show it one of these days.
It's so pretty. Well, we get to see one of them right now. I've been with David while he's bought records before, and it's pretty cool. Like, we'll go into like a tiny little vintage store and just like find, you know, just like something that we had no idea was there. And it's like super special. He bought like a Marvin Gaye album when we were in Santa Barbara, and that was really fun. He has like a ton of Beatles albums. I'm trying to think of other ones that I super love that he has. He's got some Jimi Hendrix, and he has everything. Like he has some Led Zeppelin even. Okay, go on.
Okay, so
I didn't freeze up. I didn't do a Garth. Like, remember last episode? I was just like, David's gone. I like kind of kept it going.
Okay, so Killer Queen is on this album.
It's really pretty. It's a beautiful album. Like, it's got all four of them on it. They were always very persistent about like, you know, equal value on the records. They want all their faces on there.
There's actually a story behind this.
Are you gonna take it out? Show it to me.
Oh. Okay.
Let me see its insides. It's kind of weird, right? Ooh, it's so shiny and pretty.
Yeah.
I know. I want you to like put it on and like.
Unfortunately, I can't due to copyright infringement reasons. But honey,
it's like if we were just hanging out, like I'd be like, play it. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like
one of
it's
these
so
days.
good to hear it because like what is it like on vinyl? Like the sound quality, like there's more actual like depth to the actual sound vibration. So it's actually sending a more realistic recording of his real voice to your mind. Like I would love to hear it.
I mean, first of all, it's more minimal than that. I mean, my personal thing that I love about records is the fragmentation.
I slaughtered explaining it, but go on. Sorry.
Is the fragmentation, the cracks, the little, breaks. I don't know. There's something about the imperfections that just make the music more. But the thing about Killer Queen and the thing about Sheer Heart Attack, which is their third album, the first album was Queen. uh, Queen 2, and then was Sheer Heart Attack. I know their albums. Little bit of a fan. Just um, anyway, so what happened was at the time they were kind of getting a little bit more amped up. This was already their third album. They had a production designer that came in, and Freddie Mercury was being very cocky, like he usually was. And he's like, "Oh, darling, just design me something, just something extravagant." And the producer like took him at his word, and he basically just had them just sit on a floor like freaking mannequins on this dark floor, and just like put all this like fake blood and goop and stuff. And that's the cover of Sheer Heart Attack. It's a great album. It's an excellent album. But the point I was trying to make, yes.
Why would they call it that? Sheer Heart Attack. Is that one of the songs there? I'm a terrible fan.
I actually don't know. Like, I'm not like that deep of a fan. Like, I know like some of the inspiration for some of the art, but not all of it. I'm kind of bad with that. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's just kind of sheer heart attack. Like, what does it even mean? I mean, I'm a stoner, so like, you want to take a hit and like ponder it with me for a second, like,
okay,
because I mean, like a heart attack that's like small or like
all right, hold on,
near,
hold on. Shh.
Trying to like break that down, like sheer heart attack, like almost like small, nearly happening. I don't know what sheer heart attack means.
Okay,
somebody out there is gonna be like, that stupid girl, it means this.
Okay, point is, I'll say this from my own perspective. Queen had 3 eras. Okay, there was 1973 to 1977. No, to 1978. 1979 to 1990. There you go. Why I say this, there's 3 eras. When Queen first started, Freddie Mercury was developing his art. They were all developing themselves as a band, and they were getting there. I mean, even Brian May said that Smile at its core, if you listen to Smile like before, it was already Queen, because they were already designing, like, it was the building blocks. And then the second period is where they just flourished into, I mean, okay, here.
Dude, they are just amazing song creators.
They are. Oh my God.
I read that part about where you did the breakdown of like who created which songs, and I was just so impressed. They're all so equally talented. I mean, Freddie's got that voice, though.
Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, this is a quote from from Freddie Mercury himself. Bohemian Rhapsody was one of the first videos to get the kind of attention that videos get now. Okay, if you're curious, we can't play this video, unfortunately, for copyright reasons. Fuck the FCC. Fuck the FCC.
Fuck the FCC.
Fuck the FCC. That video has, we've all seen it. Everybody's seen it. It's basically where you only see their faces and Freddie's hands, and it's just all black. And it's Bohemian Rhapsody. Come on, like, I think I've watched it.
Yeah. Where it's just like, it's black background, but their faces are like lit up.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing it like when I was a child. Like, everybody was just like mesmerized by it.
It was amazing.
I remember people's attitude was like, oh, Queen, they're always doing stuff like that. Like, just being the coolest. Like, that was kind of, people were like, oh yeah, they're cool.
Let me finish this quote.
The 90s.
And it only cost about £5,000, we decided we should put Rhapsody on film and let people see it. We didn't know how it was going to be looked upon or how they were going to receive it. To us, it was just another form of theater. But it went crazy. We recognized that a video could get to a lot of people in a lot of countries without you actually being there. And you could release and record a video simultaneously. It became very fast and it helped record sales greatly. Like, you got to understand this. This was the 1970s. And there were other, look, Queen didn't invent recording their videos, like their music videos. There were bands before, but Queen was one of the first bands that decided to take it to a next step, where like they have a background, a scene, a story, and over time that developed.
Yeah, well, they're very smart.
Yes, they were.
They put a lot of intelligence and planning into things. Like
Yes.
they were creating entertainment for people. I know that it was very important to them that they felt that people were fully entertained in all ways. Like one of the things that I thought that was really cool about Bohemian Rhapsody is that they wanted to hit all these different like emotions for the person that's listening to it. Like they wanted you to feel all these different things throughout the entirety of the song. And I mean that's an example of that planning. And
well, it's the
just putting a lot of thought into things for the viewer, for the listener.
I mean, it's the same thing when you think of this of the part of Bohemian Rhapsody, which is crazy because it's like one of the only parts I do remember, which is like "Mama, ooh, didn't mean to make you cry, Mama." Life has just, you see, like it
just begun,
and now it's gone and thrown it all away.
You killed me.
Mama, ooh, didn't, I don't remember, and then fuck, see, Stone Brain.
I don't wanna die.
If life goes on, wish I'd never been born at all. Carry on, cause nothing really matters.
Are we allowed to do that?
I don't give a fuck. Fuck the FCC. Say it one more time.
Fuck the FCC.
Fuck the motherfucking FCC.
I've had videos taken down, just for like playing a song, it's just like so sad because it's like, man, like I worked on that. Like,
I mean, we said fuck to the FCC a lot of times. We might actually be fucking.
I hate Big Brother. I mean, that's something that I'm gonna just talk about. Like, everything's just so heavily monitored, and I don't even know all the terminology to complain about what I'm upset about, but I think people know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm just sick of the thumb, on me, but that's my own problem. And loving music is a great way to get away from that.
Yes, it is.
Escape.
Yeah, which we're doing right now. Everybody, let's relax,
escaping,
and chill, and breathe.
That is what I said I wanted Lost in the Groove to be. Like, it's like an escape for the listener. Like, it's where you can kind of like smoke and like hang out with some friends and like talk about things that you like instead of like, the crap like that my car got hit by a stolen car.
So we're not we're not background noise. We're not elevator music. No. We are poetry, pissed by the gods for your delight.
I don't think anybody could play us in the background. Like, I think they'd be like, wait, what?
Yeah, they said pissed by the gods. What? So getting back on track. The thing which is important to talk about is Freddie Mercury, Roger Taylor, Brian May, and John Deacon. That's Queen. Okay. They were starting to get more popular over the years. And unfortunately, this fucking book went through 50 pages of them going up. I'm telling you, it's like the longest way of explaining a band in like 4 years they made it into 50 pages. I was like,
Like, you mean it's too much or too
it's
little?
too much. Like,
Really? 50 is not that bad. They could have
it's
wrote a whole book about it.
like, I get it, but like, the point is, like, it's a memoir of Freddie Mercury. And that's not the point. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get is because we're trying to talk about Freddie, and whoa, we've gone to a lot of different places. They got to a point where Freddie had money and he liked the lavish lifestyle. Okay, when I say lavish lifestyle, honey, he went Motown. Okay, he was downtown late at night, just partying, in the gay
Yeah.
clubs, the
He lived walking
nightlife.
distance from a couple of pubs, or at least there was one pub specifically that he could walk to. And I mean that he was out all the time, but it was very social with the specific circle of friends. It sounded
Yes.
really cool. Yeah.
What I wanted to mention was this is hilarious. One thing Queen became famous with in the late 70s, they had interesting parties. Okay. I'm going to read you something right now, which you might want to put your hands over your children's ears right now.
That kind of party.
Yeah. By October, they were touring again in the US. On Halloween night in New Orleans, Queen hosted what could only be described as an orgy with which to herald the release of their next album, Jazz. The 400 strong guests. Hold on, I'll try to do this.
Excuse me. How many people?
Okay.
I thought you said that he was like a private
Wait,
person.
wait, hold on. 400 strong guests featured press representatives from all over America, South America, Britain, and Japan. A hotel ballroom that was converted into a steamy, overgrown swamp, teeming with dwarfs and drag queens, fire eaters and female mud wrestlers, strippers and snakes, steel bands, voodoo dancers, Zulu dancers, hookers, groupies, and grotesques. Some performing unimaginable and possibly illegal acts on themselves and on each other in full view of revelers. One model arrived on so there was a model that arrived on a silver platter, and she was lying down on raw liver. Okay, we're gonna continue. This is
Satan himself was there. Like...
Others writhed in cages, suspended from the ceiling. The madness made headlines around the world and further confirmed Queen's status as the most debauched party givers in rock. What do you have to say to them, apples?
They just invited all the people,
This is the best part about spending $28 fucking dollars on this.
Sounds like a good book. That's a crazy ass story.
Yeah.
Crazy parties.
But just, okay, try to understand this. Freddie's behind this, okay? They're making these crazy parties. They're living like it's nobody's business but theirs. And they were on a road to just success. I mean, they became like one of the most famous rock and roll bands ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Yeah. 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 So good that it had to end. Yeah.
I think it's also important to, when you talk about Freddie and his sexuality, with Mary Austin and with Tim Hutton later on. And we could have discussed, and I don't know if we should, about like the person that gave him AIDS. And it's important we know, but he's gone and it doesn't really matter anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's sad. It's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, but it
I
happened.
mean, people wonder about it, but it's just like not it's not the point, you know. I just want to say, that I respect him, and I respect his privacy, and like I'm just talking about this out of like, showing respect basically.
Yeah. And one thing you'll learn, especially about Freddie Mercury, was he either trusted you in 5 minutes or he didn't trust you at all. He was, like we said, very private. He didn't really talk about his personal life to anyone because he had every right to. He liked to live a private life. And something, it's crazy to think he's probably one of the very few, the last celebrities that were able to actually have privacy because they didn't have computers and all this technology today. Freddie Mercury's life would have been hell if he was alive today. He would have had no privacy.
I know. I like privacy a lot. Like I told you that I don't TikTok. You were like, "You don't TikTok?" I'm like, "No, I don't like social media, to be honest,
I have to
so
use it. I mean, this is the only way we
I
can,
appreciate it."
because we gotta be able to have other people that we inspire us. And it's I don't want to take his entire story and shove it into like, just 30 minutes. That's not what we're trying to do over here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take little glimpses and pieces of his life and be inspired by each part. I picked each of these little pieces because I thought that they have a significant meaning. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna go normal.
You gonna smoke a little bit? I mean, there's only there's like so much that we want to say that it's almost like, well, we're never gonna get to say it all.
It's not necessarily the case. I do think the last few years of his life, he was diagnosed with HIV. I believe it was in 84 or 85. And he didn't really tell anyone until 1986, quite a few years later. And he actually didn't even tell his sister until several months before. His own sister. And kind of important was, and this was said by Peter, which was his kind of like his concierge, like he was the one that like took care of everything for him. And he actually, Peter Freestone, sorry, I believe he actually wrote his own book. And he actually speaks about. I actually wanted to get that book, but I didn't actually. It's a long story, but in short, I never found it, and whatever.
Wow.
But that was what Freddie wanted, said Peter Freestone. Those of us closest to him were even lying to members of our own families. What it did for Freddie, he never wanted a fuss or to shock his parents. Other than that, he didn't see that his illness was anybody's business but his own.
Yeah, it made it really shocking for the public when he did die because people had just found out that he even had AIDS. I mean, I was just saying, like a few people that were close to him knew, but the press didn't know. Like the general public didn't know. And so it was very, very shocking for people.
I mean, the thing is that like they all had assumptions. For example, where there was race questions, especially when you reach, if you really like look at pictures of the last year of his life, he looked horrible. He looked like he was dying.
It's
Um,
really hard to hear.
you can see it. I mean, his last, like public display, I believe was way earlier in the year, in '91, and this is also important, and it is something that needs to be discussed. Is where a lot of people died from AIDS. Okay, and a direct quote that I heard from a gay member that was alive at the time. Yeah, it was normal. We woke up in the morning every day on Sunday. We didn't go to church. We went to our funerals. That's what they did on Sundays. They went to funerals for their dead loved ones. That was life for many people in this country because of the ignorance of our government and the ignorance of so many people. And it doesn't matter on who gave Freddie HIV, the AIDS, or sorry, HIV, sorry, and gave it to him. And it doesn't matter. The point is, Freddie's not the only person that died from AIDS.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other members,
Yeah.
credible artists, creators that all died from AIDS.
Yeah. I know that Elton John attended Freddie Mercury's funeral, and it was a very, very small funeral. They said like 35 to maybe 45 people, just very small, intimate. But I know that Elton John is extremely passionate about AIDS and that he's raised a lot of money for a long time. I know that he was there. So, I mean, that probably hurt a lot. I mean, it's just incredible to watch somebody with that much talent, and it hurts really bad to like watch that type of talent, and I don't even want to say it, it hurts to watch that talent die. Like I mean, he's a person, it's just painful.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. Uh, we're gonna January's around the corner, and we're gonna be also doing an episode for David Bowie. I can say this because David Bowie died in my lifetime. To wake up in the morning and to read the headlines that he's dead of cancer. He didn't really like Bowie was very private, and he only released very much later on. I remember that feeling like it was yesterday. I can't even imagine what the feeling would have been like for people that were alive. And again, we're not glorifying, just like you said, the pain to see an artist, a creator, someone that has so much strength and power on stage, and the way he inspires people just wither away.
He was so strong. Like there was something about somebody so incredible that it made you feel like they were untouchable. Like it made he looked like, like a god, like immortal type. And to lose somebody, and to be reminded of that mortality, to lose them when they're young, damn. Like, it's almost like people don't want to talk about it because it's just like, ugh. Yeah, it's a knife right into the heart, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I have smoked all my joints. I should have saved one for like the Look at
Slowly,
you.
honey.
Look at
Slowly.
you.
Slowly. First up, this is joint. Oh no. And we can't also forget, the contribution that was left behind. You have to remember Elton John. Even though I have my very bad opinions of him right now, I'm going to keep them to myself.
Oh, I don't know anything about that.
But anyway, uh, his relationship with Freddie was incredible. They both inspired each other. And the same thing went for Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was very inspired by Freddie Mercury, and Freddie Mercury was very inspired by Michael Jackson. Freddie Mercury was inspired by other artists. He loved other creators. And it's crazy to think that how could somebody that's like, but again, remembering that we all as humans can die of disease. We all as humans can be there for each other in the darkest of times. I think the lesson for me personally that Freddie Mercury leaves, not just for the gay community, for the entire queer community. And the message is that he didn't need to come out of the closet. There was no closet to begin with for Freddie Mercury. He didn't need the four walls. And I'm not saying this works for everyone. What I'm saying is, if you feel happy as a dude and you like wearing fucking heels, go for it, honey. Be fabulous. If you're the type of girl you want to fucking wear some work boots and a pair of shorts and, a cool flannel, button down, go for it. Fucking A. Be yourself.
I agree. I think that it is a reminder that like you don't have to label yourself. Like you don't have to be he or she or they. You don't have to, I mean you can, if
Your
that's what you
labels.
want to choose. But I'm just saying like we don't have to have one. Like you can just be, Dave. Like I don't, but if it makes you, if that's something that you need, then like I'm all for it. Like I'm always supporting people, but like I also kind of really like to shoot out this idea of like, like you're an artist. You're not like a gay artist. I mean, if you need to be a gay artist, then like okay, maybe. But like, I'm just kind of like you're an artist. Like I don't know.
It's the same thing where the lesson you see throughout Freddie Mercury's life is people like to label him as, the gay icon. I don't see him as a gay icon. And I say this not to disgrace the man, but I say it as Freddie Mercury wasn't defined by his sexuality. Yes, he liked men, but he also liked women. And he didn't come. I mean, like, he's
an artist.
Yeah. He clearly
he's an artist before he's a gay artist. Like, sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, exactly. That's what it is. Yeah.
I don't know. I cut you off, bro.
No, I'm fine. I'm just a little cold.
You're cold up in here. I'm cold too. Like, what is it? It's, almost it's gonna be Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, it's starting to get like chilly for us. Like
It's just crazy how like Thanksgiving is the death of Freddie Mercury.
Oh,
I know, but
is that what you think about like when Thanksgiving comes around?
Like, the show must go on. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. No. No, I'm not thinking about that. But it's just, I don't know. It's just a coincidence. I realized like literally on the podcast, I was like, wait, what? Word, girl.
I mean, by the time we release it, Thanksgiving will be over.
Oh, I know.
Everybody's like going like holiday crazy right
Yeah,
now.
I
People want to
know.
like shop a whole bunch. Like I bet
I
people
know.
just spend a bunch of money and they're like, "Oh my God, I spent so much money. How the hell am I going to pay rent for December?" Like I know that's like everybody's going to be like, "What did I just do?" Is kind of maybe how listeners are feeling. But we don't have listeners yet, but we're still like, like talking to them like they're here was the plan.
They're here though.
Hi.
They're we have a following. Okay, we have some wonderful people right now sitting on their couch, drinking their wine, listening to the story of Freddie Mercury from two stone very people. No, very very stone people. Um,
What are you going
but
to do next episode?
I have no idea. We can talk about this, but anyway, thank you all for being here for this tribute episode for Freddie Mercury. I hope you like this episode. Please be sure to check us out. Our socials and all of our info is down in the description. So, anyway, thank you for being part of American Groove. We Stone people are going to pass out. See y'all. Peace.